Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the lesson that has us looking at interest groups. Before we get started, please let me encourage you to open up to the correct part for today's lesson, and please remember to, of course, scroll down the correct section. For this particular lesson, we're going to be looking at the basic roles and functions of interest groups that they play in our government. Please remember to answer the key concept questions as they appear, and also if you need to, you can replay any part of this presentation for detail or clarity later. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get to the main bulk of the reading, here are some interest groups that are in our government today. The Humane Society works to reduce suffering and improve the lives of all animals by advocating for better laws, investigating animal cruelty, conducting campaigns to reform industries, providing animal rescue and emergency response, and caring for animals through our emergency shelters. MAD is the mission of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it's to stop drunk driving, support the victims of this violent crime, and prevent underage drinking. NAM is the National Association of Manufacturers, and it is the leading manufacturing association representing manufacturers in every industrial sector and in all 50 states. Our mission is to be the voice of all manufacturing in the U.S. and inform policymakers about manufacturing's vital role in the U.S. economy. The Christian Coalition of America works to represent the pro-family agenda and support policies that will strengthen and preserve rather than threaten our families and our values. And then the Screen Actors Guild represents actors who work in film and television programs, commercials, video games, internet, and allow all new media formats, and the guild exists to enhance actors' working conditions, pay, and benefits, and to be a powerful unified voice on behalf of artists' rights. So before we get started, from what you actually saw there on that first page are some of the main interest groups that exist in our society, but think about their function and their roles. They try to, of course, encourage government to enact policies that would benefit and help them. So what are interest groups? Here's a hypothetical example for detail, some food for thought. So what's on the school lunch menu today? French fries, chips, or baked potatoes? Believe it or not, people debate about what is and should be on your school lunch tray. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is responsible for creating nutritional guidelines for school lunches and wants to limit the amount of white potatoes and other starchy vegetables to 1 cup a week or to 2 servings. This proposal affects everyone from the potato farmer to the cafeteria worker to the students eating the tater tots, and not surprisingly, all of these people have differentiating opinions. Eat your broccoli. Supporters of limiting potato servings argue that potatoes are often served fried or topped with high-calorie items like sour cream, cheese, and bacon. But they also worry that when students are given a choice between French fries or something like carrots or green beans, they too often choose the fries. Poor eating choices made early in life lead to obesity and numerous long-term health problems like diabetes and heart disease. Would you like fries with that? Opponents of the proposed change offer that potatoes are actually full of nutritional value, and aren't always served in unhealthy ways, like fries can be baked rather than fried, and baked potatoes can be topped with healthier alternatives like salsa. And they also argue that potatoes are a cheap and plentiful option for a vegetable serving, and that limiting potatoes would increase school lunch costs across the nation. Interested? The people on all sides of this argument have an interest in the outcome of the debate, and that just means that they're interested or concerned with how things end up. People pay attention to things that they will likely affect their lives. So please fill out this chart in your doc. How might limiting starchy vegetables like potatoes affect the following people: students, potato farmers, and schools? Now let's move on to the next big part of the reading. Interest groups. How does individual interest in a debate lead to action? What if people with these interests have other interests, like working or going to school, and can't spend their entire day learning what is happening or doing something about it? Potato farmers and nutritionists have little time for marching in front of the USDA or making speeches to the public. Grouping interests. One way people can have their voice heard is to find others with the same concerns, so interest groups gather people and resources to support public policies that help their members. They work to persuade policymakers like senators and representatives to support government actions that help their members and oppose actions that hurt them. They also work to influence public opinion by educating the general public about their point of view. In this way, interest groups advocate or promote the needs and wants of the group. So there are hundreds of interest groups in the United States working on many different types of issues. In fact, here are the 5 main types of interest groups that exist. Most groups can be divided into 5 different categories. Public interest focuses on topics that affect the general public like education, the environment, and politics. Economic interests promote the economic interests of their members in business, labor, and trade organizations. Professional groups advocate for people in a particular profession, such as doctors, lawyers, and teachers. Ideological groups promote policies based on a set of core political or religious beliefs. And single issue groups focuses on one narrow topic, such as immigration or drunk driving. Taking sides. In the school lunch potato battle, one group that supports the limits on starchy veggies is the Center for Science and Public Interest, or CSPI. The CSPI is a strong advocate for nutrition and food safety from a scientific perspective. On the other side of the discussion is the National Potato Council, or NPC, which advocates for government policies that help U.S. potato growers prosper. Both groups work to inform the USDA and elected officials that their position on the issue is the correct one. Think of two goals each group might have that would either support or oppose the new USDA limits on potatoes in school lunches. So what I want you to do is to fill out the chart right here, analyzing, of course, their support or opposition from groups like the Center for Science and Public Interest and, of course, the National Potato Council. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the reading here for interest groups and learn more about them. Influencing government. Interest groups use several strategies to influence government. The amount of influence that interest groups have on government is a major issue of concern for many people today. At the same time, millions of citizens rely on interest groups to make their voices heard. Lobbying for support. Interest groups hire lobbyists to meet with their members of government and discuss the group's issues and concerns, and lobbyists say that their job is to provide information to decision makers. The information lobbyists provide has been carefully chosen to persuade the audience to take on one side of an issue. Lawmakers have to be aware of this bias and lobbyist messages and consider both sides before they make any decision. Endorsing candidates. During elections, some interest groups may endorse or officially support candidates. Groups choose a candidate to support based on what the candidate has done in the past and where the candidate stands on issues important to the group. Once the candidate is in office, he or she may introduce new bills, support existing laws, or use influence on important committees. In return, the interest group encourages its members to vote for that person in the next election. In addition, the interest group may donate money to the candidate's election campaign. Raising money. Interest groups raise money to support their efforts to influence the government, and some people worry that interest groups can buy candidates by contributing lots of money to the candidate's election campaign. Once in office, such a candidate might be more concerned about pleasing the interest group than representing the voters, and so the government addresses this concern with strict rules about how interest groups may collect and donate money to political campaigns. Those that do must form a political action committee, or a PAC, that follows strict government rules about giving money to political candidates. So not everyone agrees about what kinds of rules interest groups should have to follow. Some people fear that campaign financing laws limit the ability of people to support the causes that they care most about, and others fear that interest groups have grown to have more influence on government than the public at large. They believe that groups should be controlled, and the debate continues as some interest groups and wealthy individuals who support them find loopholes or ways around the campaign finance laws. So once again, to basically bring this together is that strategies for influencing government are to inform the public and elected officials about issues that matter to a group, donate money to political campaigns in exchange for support by the candidate, and endorsement, a candidate running for office and suggest that the group's members vote for him or for her. So guys, what I want you to do right now at the very end of the reading, now that we know what we know about interest groups, and of course we're going to delve a little bit deeper, is to complete the matching activity down here with some basic vocab with interest groups. Interest, advocate, political action committee, interest group, bias, campaign financing, lobbyist, and public opinion. That should be the part there that you have to do. And I believe this part down here is included as well. How do you lobby? Read each interest group lobby activity and decide if it is an example of informing, donating money, or endorsing a candidate running for office by placing the proper corresponding letters. Okay? And that is basically what you have to do there for finishing that part of the lesson. So thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the lesson on interest groups.